Hello, xin chào mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh Vật lý Chill. Đây sẽ là tập 7 của series phỏng vấn các cựu thí sinh tham dự IFO hay Olympic vật lý quốc tế. Trong tập lần này, chúng ta sẽ gặp một vị huấn luyện viên khác của đội tuyển Olympic vật lý Mỹ, đó chính là anh Mike Weiner. Ở đợt trước, chúng ta đã nghe những chia sẻ rất bổ ích từ huấn luyện viên Kaishi, nên lần này mình mong rằng huấn luyện viên Mike Weiner sẽ mang đến cho các bạn những câu chuyện thú vị khác. Về Mike, anh sinh năm 1996 và giành được huy chương bạc IFO vào năm 2014 khi đang là học sinh lớp 11. Ngoài thành tích IFO, anh còn giành được giải nhất kỳ thi khoa học Intel Science Talent Search và nhận được 150.000 đô la tiền thưởng, một số tiền kiếm được rất là lớn đối với một học sinh cấp 3. Về đề tài dự thi, anh nghiên cứu về sự tương tác của hạt phonon với hạt electron và ứng dụng của nó trong việc tạo nên vật liệu siêu dẫn. Sau khi tốt nghiệp, anh theo học tại trường đại học danh giá MIT và có được bằng cử nhân ngành vật lý. Hiện tại, anh đang học chương trình tiến sĩ vật lý ở Đại học Maryland. Wow, quả là một profile cực kỳ chất lượng luôn. Người đồng hành cùng mình trong buổi phỏng vấn sẽ là bạn Christina Nguyễn, sinh viên năm 3 của ngành Neuroscience ở Đại học USC. Và để các bạn không chờ đợi lâu, chúng ta hãy cùng nhau vào buổi phỏng vấn thôi nào. Hello. Hello. Hi, Coach. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Hi.
Okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing great, Coach. Like, we just all of us like just wake up on the same like earlier than you because we on the Pacific time. Like,
Oh,
right
you're.
now.
I had assumed you were in Vietnamese time.
Oh. And yeah, like just a quick introduction. Like my name is Dui. You know, like I'm part of the Vietnamese physics community. My job is like to reach out to a contestant and coach in order to hear like different story and perspective about IFO. So our student or maybe the world student around the world, you know, can learn more, have some sort of like inspiration in order to pursue advanced academic career.
And I'm Christina. I help you with doing the video editing for the interviews. And this is my second time helping out with an interview.
That's nice.
Yeah, great. So let's start up, you know, like Coach, like can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience? Like, you know, what do you do right now? Any favorite like food and also any fun fact about you?
Favorite food. Okay. So my name is Mike. I'm a physicist at University of Maryland now. I'm a grad student. I do research in quantum chaos, and I'm very excited about that. My favorite food, I just had a very good hamburger a few days ago. So that specific hamburger is probably my favorite food. It's all gone now.
Burger.
My best fun fact is that I once made President Obama laugh.
Oh.
Yeah. If you want, we can go into the whole story, but yeah, long story short.
And also, do you have any like Vietnamese food in your mind?
Yes,
have you ever tried?
yes, I do. In fact, it's very appropriate you asked, because after every USFO, IFO related achievement, I go and eat pho, which is my favorite Vietnamese food. So it's
That's
very
awesome.
on theme.
So we know that you were a former IFO contestant. So we're a little bit curious to know, how did your high school magnet program help you to prepare for it?
Yeah, so the answer is immensely. It was an incredible blessing to be in the kind of program I was in. So I'm just trying to think of examples. So we had a school physics team, which I think is more common now, but was pretty unusual at the time. Every week, we would gather, and the 11th and 12th graders would teach us mere 9th graders, what torque was or whatever. And that was especially beneficial to me freshman year when I was, learning. It was also very beneficial to me junior year, the year I made IFO, because I was coaching the school physics team, and you learn a lot when you're forced to teach things. So, I had to, sit down and be like, what exactly is, Kepler's second law, and what's the best way to understand it and all that stuff. Like there were, during the time I was at my high school, there were two other IFO people also, oh, I'm sorry, 3 other IFO people also there. I'm sorry, I miscounted. And I would talk to them and be like, hey, how do I do this problem? And they'd come to me and ask me how to do problems. And it was incredibly helpful to go to such a strong school.
That's so cool to hear that it was such a collaborative environment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, and also can we ask about your learning journey in general? When you started learning calculus and also physics, you learned in your high school or you self study before?
Sure. So I learned physics for a most efficient way of getting good at video games. But yeah, I was playing this in 6th grade. I was playing some game where you have to jump from platform to platform, and I was like, if I learn physics, I'll be so good at jumping from platform to platform. And that never really paid off, but I ended up being like, okay, what's potential energy? Well, hold on, this potential energy formula doesn't really make sense for long distances because of, the inverse square law. So there's clearly a more advanced formula. So yeah, I had to learn more and more stuff, just to make it all make sense. I learned calculus in 7th grade because one of the other 7th graders learned trigonometry and I had to be better than him.
Oh my God! Wow!
What?
The
A lot of fun.
competition.
Or that type of friend challenge you first, or you just see him and then I want to try.
Yeah. I mean, here he is, sitting in class, while the teacher's talking, just being like sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. I'm not going to take that lying down. I need to figure out what the derivative of sine of x is.
Wow, that's crazy. And I'm just curious, like you said, you decide to learn calculus, and then what source that you try to use to learn it?
I learned it from a book called Calculus for Dummies, which says something about me.
NANI?
Actually, as I recall, the book was mostly about integrals, so derivatives. I had to just sort of look up the formulas and then figure out how to derive them, which was fun. I think the chain rule is pretty easy. The product rule is kind of hard, and then once you know those two, the quotient rule isn't that hard. And then I learned integrals from Calculus 2 for Dummies, which is why I still do integrals like a dummy.
Oh wow. And basically that book, I believe, gonna cover from calculus 1 until multivariable.
Oh no, it didn't have any multivariable. I mostly learned from a book called Div Grad Curl and all that, which is an excellent book. And it's it's got it's built to also teach you electromagnetism, right? It's all the examples are, here's Gauss's law. So, in order to do Gauss's law, you need to learn about divergences. You need to learn how divergences relate to surface integrals. So it's a very physicist-oriented introduction to vector calculus.
Oh wow, yeah, that's totally awesome. So after that, previous contestant for physics, they just use classic book like Halliday, Resnick, and King. So I don't know if you go follow the same.
No,
set
I
of
actually
books, or you have a
didn't.
new
So
one?
this is one of the things I might have done differently if I, could send messages back in time. Is I, for some inexplicable reason, was of the opinion that I should be getting, the cheapest books on Amazon and paying for them with my own allowance. And with the benefit of hindsight, I could have just asked my dad, hey, get me Halliday, Resnick, and he would have done it because, of course, what dad wouldn't get their kid that book? But so I was going and getting the cheapest used book from a defunct publisher that I could find on Amazon, and one particular so as a result, I learned this from a pretty different set of books than most other people. I think in most cases the standard book is better. The one book that I stumbled upon that I think really is better than the standard is Principles of Electrodynamics, I think it's called, by Melvin Schwartz, which is, if you've ever heard of Jackson, it's like Jackson in 200 pages. It's really intense, but afterwards you really just, you get it.
Wow. So that carried you into the IFO of 2014.
Yeah, that was, that's where I got my electromagnetism. I think I've really never needed to know anything about classical E&M that wasn't in that book.
I'm kind of curious to know though, did you use any online sources when you were studying, or do you use any now to help your contestants?
So back at the time, I think I only really actually discovered online resources the year after IFO. So the years before IFO, I mean, like everyone else, I was Googling, to find old physics contests and stuff. So I don't know if that counts as online resources, but it was resources that I found online. And then later, I definitely made use of like MIT OpenCourseWare and stuff and learned a lot from that. I think that was especially true my senior year of high school.
So what was it like traveling to Kazakhstan for the competition?
Kazakhstan is amazing. Like, I think a lot of the people who I've talked about Kazakhstan sort of go in assuming it's, yurts or whatever. And it's not. It's this, at least, the capital city is an incredibly beautiful city. So on that trip, we had a layover in Istanbul, which, as you know, has the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia. And I can still say the coolest mosque we saw on that trip was in Kazakhstan. They have an amazing mosque. They have this like, weird sphere skyscraper thing, which is amazing. They have a lot of very cool buildings, and it's very clearly designed to show off, and it worked. I was very impressed.
It's so cool. Did you have any favorite foods that you tried there?
Oh God. Actually, the best food that I tried was in Turkey. On the way there, we stopped, and Turkey, they seem to think that rose is a flavor. Like, like where I come from, it's chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, the standard flavors. And then in Turkey, they have rose. And rose is an amazing flavor, and everything should be rose flavored. Kazakhstan, on the other hand, thinks curdled goat's milk is a legitimate flavor, which I'm less sold on as a whole.
Lastly, like if you could go back time to say something to yourself during the training camp or training process for IFO, what would it be?
It would probably be some financial advice, like buy Bitcoin. Assuming I'm not allowed to use time travel to make money, and I'm only allowed to use it to study for IFO. I think I would tell myself to buy a circuitry kit. Like, I was always much, much stronger in theory than experiment. And I don't think a circuitry kit would have made me good at experiment by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it might have made me better. I think, like a dozen hours fiddling around with that would have been helpful. And I wouldn't have made me good, but would have made me better.
So how did you hear about the Intel Science Talent Search?
By going to the best high school in the country is how. So my high school has had more Intel finalists than any other high school in the country. We take that particular contest very seriously. We basically, obviously this is a huge advantage and privilege I'm incredibly grateful for. That my high school takes that contest very seriously and gives us lots of resources, and helps us try to find mentors, and helps us understand what goes into a successful project and all that. So I was very blessed, or whatever.
Could you tell us a little bit about your project and what inspired you to work on this particular subject?
So what happened? Oh, this is an example of an online resource I forgot to mention. So yeah, I guess it was sophomore year of high school, I took an online like Coursera class with two guys named Victor Galitsky and Charles Clark. They were teaching some like exploring quantum mechanics class. And I learned a fair amount. And then at the end of the summer, beginning of the summer of my sophomore year, I emailed Galitsky and said, hey, I took your class and I'm a US Physics Olympiad dude and all that. Can I do an internship with you? And he said, yes. And he gave me this specific problem where basically you have a delta function, a potential, which is like a train of delta functions, which is a kind of okay model of a crystal, kind of. And I was like, if you move the delta functions, how does that affect the energy levels of the electrons? So I was thinking about that, and I did not make much progress that summer because I knew very little about quantum still. And I was like, well, what if we try perturbation theory? And that's basically as far as I got. Then the next summer I came back and kind of ignored the problem I was supposed to be doing, and because I had just taken this class on like many body quantum physics, and so I was like, okay, what if we view this as a many body thing and try to figure out like the phonons getting absorbed and emitted and figure out like amplitudes for that. So I kind of worked on that. And I'm sure like, for a grad student now, that would be like a homework problem that was not particularly impressive in any objective sense, but I think it was impressive for a high schooler.
And also, like, we just want to ask, like, was like, Intel STS is the reason why you didn't participate in like IFO 2015?
No. So US physics team says you can only go to the camp 2 years. So I did it sophomore and junior year. So I wasn't allowed senior year.
I see.
So basically, like, no one can, have a chance to win like the gold for any medal for 3 times in a row.
That's correct.
Oh, I see it. Oh, that's new. I thought like, you can participate like any time you want to.
Nope. You can only do it twice.
Besides competing, were you involved in any other kinds of activities in high school?
So looking back, not really. All of my high school extracurriculars were in some way competitive. But I was a captain / coach for the physics, my school's physics team. And so while, the ultimate goal was to, help other people be good competitors, what I was doing in sort of the short term was just teaching, which is not really a competitive activity. It was just indirectly competitive.
Would you say you're still a competitive kind of person today?
Yeah, I'm definitely more competitive than an average person. I don't think I'm like incredibly competitive, but I'm pretty competitive.
We'd like to move a little bit over to the college section of our interview.
Sure.
And so we're wondering, could you tell us about your experience at MIT and perhaps like, was it a hard transition from high school to college, having gone to Blair where it kind of prepares you academically?
Sure. So yeah, so MIT is amazing. I am so happy I got to go. I think the most striking thing is how literally every person I met there was remarkable. Like I kind of came in expecting most of the people to be remarkable. And then it was just 100% of the people, were intelligent and thoughtful and driven and interesting. And it was very, I was very lucky to be there. And then in terms of the transition, so I mean, as I guess there's sort of, in my view, 3 aspects of transitioning from high school to college. There's what I'll call the academic aspect, there's the social aspect, and there's the not living with your parents anymore aspect. So for me, the academic transition was pretty smooth because I went to such an amazing high school. The not living with your parents anymore aspect also for me went pretty well. I think MIT handles this very well because it has freshmen living with sophomores, living with juniors and seniors. So like, even if I don't know how to, do laundry or cook pasta or whatever, there are wise village elders who can tell me. So that went pretty fine for me. The social transition was a little more difficult. I had amazing friends in high school. And then in college, so like the first week of college is the easiest time in your entire life to meet people. You'll be like, oh, we sat next to each other at an ice cream social. You're my best friend now. And then what happened to me was like a few months in, I started to realize that sitting next to someone at an ice cream social is not actually a valid basis for a lifelong best friendship. And I started realizing that all these, friends I'd made really quickly at the beginning of college weren't actually the right group of friends for me. And a few of them I definitely stuck with, but some of the others I think I kind of, drifted apart from. And, I was like, what's wrong? Why are these friendships not clicking after a semester? And I just, made new friends and all worked out. But I think I was slowed down by the impression that you have to meet your college best friend in the first week of college.
Do you have any like, favorite moment by the day?
So I'm going to restrict this to what I'll call MIT moments, right? Like, like I had my first kiss at MIT, but that's not an MIT moment, just a moment that happened at MIT. My favorite MIT moment was the pumpkin drop. So every Halloween, some students, I was not one of these students, go to the top of the tallest building on campus and drop pumpkins off it. And you can watch them fall and explode. I went there with a group of my friends one year, and we watch the pumpkins fall and talk about science. And it was a very memorable and exciting experience.
Wow, is it dangerous? Like if you throw like pumpkin from the top?
I mean, they clear off a radius. So, you know,
Oh, I see. Wow.
they
I
know
feel
what they're doing.
I kind of feel bad for the janitor who cleaned that.
Yeah, I mean it's outside, and there's definitely you know, like for the next 3 weeks there are a lot of pumpkin seeds around there.
So after MIT, is there a particular reason why you decided to go back to Maryland and work at the university there?
Yeah, I was offered a really cushy fellowship, and my advisor is just incredibly awesome. I, you know, can't say enough good things about my advisor at UMD, and I was super excited to work with him. So that's why.
We just curious, like why the U.S. training camp is hosted in Maryland.
Yeah, so that's actually a sort of funny story. So as you know, there's the American Physical Society, which is, you know, this huge umbrella organization with tentacles all over everything. And they fund an organization called AAPT, American Association of Physics Teachers, and AAPT funds physics teams. So you know, if you trace everything up, we're you know, a little finger of APS. And APS is based in Washington. And every year they, you know, like to come and see us announce the IFO team. So they like having us nearby. And other than that, yeah, I've been at Maryland mostly because of proximity to APS.
Oh, I see. That's understandable. And like, can you share us like what inspired you to become a US physics team coach?
Sure. The answer is I love having people forced to hear me talk. So any position where I get to stand in front of a room and the other people aren't allowed to leave is awesome as far as I'm concerned.
Do you do any form of outreach to non-Olympiad students to introduce them to physics or to tell them a little bit about the competitions?
So the other form of sort of outreach I do is I have a bunch of interns now, which is obviously not, you know, these are people who are already pretty involved in physics, but it's definitely, you know, it's a different form of outreach. I'm, you know, trying to turn them into something a little bit closer to an actual physicist. It's incredibly gratifying. It definitely, you know, teaches me things about physics and about life and about human psychology to have these interns. And it's a great experience.
And there's a rumor like, you are the funniest coach in the team. Do you think so?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I 1 year, I think I focused on being the coolest coach, and I had my cool coach crown.
Oh.
But I think at a certain point, I think I'm now too old to be the cool coach.
Do you have a goal for what kind of title you want next after Funniest?
I don't know. I think I'm in the running for handsomest. That might be next year.
We're kind of curious to know, what is the hardest part about working with contestants?
The hardest part. So teaching is hard. And I remember this one specific experience where there was, you know, a problem that I had done as a camper and gotten it all right. When you're solving the problem in that situation, you know, and you had that sort of, you know, brain fart, you would just go and do something else and then come back to this problem, it would be totally fine. Up in front of 20 very smart people, and you know, suddenly misplace the solution and don't know what to do. It was very embarrassing.
Oh, no.
Like what I had to do was just be like, I'm sorry, forget the solution. I remember you got it exactly right. I pointed to one of the students, come up and solve it. So he did, and it was super embarrassing for me and super fun for him because he got to show me up. And I think just in general, like, you know, one of the other coaches said, you lose 20 IQ points when you're in front of the blackboard. And
Emotional, damn it.
And looking forward, do you have any plans for what you would like to do?
In terms of my life, I want to be a physicist. I ideally would like to do quantum chaos. If I got to choose the exact job, I've already decided. I would like to sit in room 324 at the physical science complex at MIT. I would like to teach a certain class called Relativistic Quantum Field Theory 2. And I've decided I'm going to rearrange the curriculum so you learn about ghost particles on Halloween. So that's I got it all planned out.
Oh,
Wow, very
so cool.
productive plan. And yeah,
Yeah.
I can see like you also love teaching as well as like researching both at the same
Mhm.
time. This is because are very rare, like professor, you know, they enjoy both. Some of them like just like researching and then teaching is like Some of them like teaching, but they don't like do much like researching.
Mhm.
And you know, like during this like COVID time, you know, and also the US team in IFO 2021, you know, everything is online. And I heard from Professor JJ, you know, you guys have very least interaction with the students. So does it affect you, and how did you do differently?
So the main thing we did differently was let Kevin handle everything. So I don't know if
Oh
you've heard of
wow,
Kevin
what?
Zoe, but he was definitely the star of the coaching this year, and he, prepared handouts. He had every day he would have an amazing problem of the day, which he gave to all the students. He had all these handouts. He had all these curricula and all that. So he was definitely the star. Yeah. I think at camp, it's kind of an intense, 10-day experience or whatever it is. Whereas here, obviously, it was way more spread out over time. So I think we did a comparable amount of teaching and it was way more spread out, and that was different. And at least based on this 1 year, it might have been better. Yeah, those are the main, and obviously, of course, everything was remote, as you know.
Wow,
Those are
that's
the main
cool.
differences.
Yeah, and you know, like, do you say anything to the team, like, you know, to keep the spirit up? Because during this like time, the U.S. team lack of like resource, according to like Kevin, and you know, a lot of like things that come up, a lot of like difficulty and challenging. So how do you do to keep up and cheer up the student?
Yeah, so I think weekly meetings were important here. So actually, this is something I think we did better during COVID than when I was there. So when I was studying, it was just here's a list of IFOs. We want you to do 3 IFOs per week, 3 theory exams per week. Yeah. Email us every week to tell us you did them. Goodbye. Whereas this year, there's a lot of the weekly remote meetings, and Kevin would make IFO syllabus related jokes. I didn't even know the IFO syllabus was funny. And I'm annoyed because I'm supposed to be the funny coach. But he had this whole tight 10 about the IFO syllabus, and he would get them excited. So he deserves a huge amount of the credit. Not that I don't deserve tons of credit too, but he deserves most of it.
That's very sweet.
So we saw that the US team won the 5 gold medals this year. How did you feel when you found out?
I was incredibly excited. I'm amazed by how excited I was. I think I was more excited when I made IFO, but I'm not even sure about that. I was very proud of these 5 kids.
And also, like, do you do anything, during your free time beside, coaching, teaching,
Oh, of course.
studying?
So I really enjoy history. So I know a fair amount about history. My favorite genre is what historians call dad history, which is big books about the Civil War. Stuff like that. So I enjoy that. I really like Marvel movies. I can
Oh
tell you
yeah.
so much about like Iron Man or whatever.
So I'm pretty sure like you're gonna like the Loki series recently. That's very good.
Yeah, I just watched it. It was pretty good. I feel like they should have I wanted to see more tricks. Like the whole point is he's the god of tricks, and throughout the entire series, we never really see him successfully pull off a trick, and like that's just a disappointment. I feel like they need to do better next season.
But it show like the multiverse thing, like more sound very physics.
Yeah. I mean, the multiverse is going to be exciting. You know, as I'm sure you know, Doctor Strange's next movie is going to involve the multiverse, and this was setting up for that.
You're gonna clean up all the mess.
Yes.
Oh, hell no!
What's your favorite like movie out of those Marvels?
Avengers: Infinity War,
Okay, yes. Part 2 or part 1?
part 1.
Oh, part 1. Well, that's the saddest one.
It was sad, but like to me, it was like I feel like in a way the last one is sadder because it's after the sad thing, so everyone's walking around being sad. Whereas in the Infinity War, you know, part 1, you don't know it's going to be sad yet, so no one's walking around being sad yet.
And back to a more serious subject. As a coach, do you have any advice for students who want to get a head start in their physics learning journey?
Yeah, so I think the biggest piece of advice is just do it, go out and do things. I think there's a trap where, you know, you spend a lot of time trying to find the, you know, best book, and you have a spreadsheet of, you know, how many stars each book has on Amazon or whatever. And like, it's way more useful to just get a book and start reading, and you know, they're all pretty comparable, and you know, just do things is my number one piece of advice.
Do you have any words of encouragement for students who are getting overwhelmed or stressed out by just how much content there is to cover?
I don't know. What any specific words of encouragement for that? I guess I'd say, you know, do one thing. You know, find the easiest, funnest looking thing and do that. And then do the next easiest, funnest looking thing. And hopefully that'll build up. And, you know, and if like, also, I guess I would say no one is forcing anyone to be a physicist. Like if you feel overwhelmed and it's a persistent feeling that stays for months, you're allowed to be a mathematician too. You know, it's fine. You don't have to be a physicist. Obviously I am, and I really enjoy it, but don't feel obligated to.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, yeah, you know, like just know where you're at and then do what yourself can be, you know, be capable of. All right, yeah, that's I think that's all we have, Coach. Thank you so much for joining our interview. Wow, we really enjoying your story. Like, it was very funny, and then you're a very funny person, like just like the rumor said. And yeah, on the behalf of the, you know, Vietnamese physics community, I and Christina, like, thank you so much for your participation. Yeah, we hope like your story, your spirit, your energetic spirit gonna, you know, help our student, you know, to be fired up, be excited to learn physics more, and also to experience or to try out something that you just did, like, you know, quantum mechanics, like traveling to different countries, study MIT, Maryland, those type of like cool experience. I hope like our student, they're gonna, you know, one day they're gonna have the same thing or maybe better.
Yes, just thank you so much for making the time for us. We really enjoyed hearing your story, and we're really excited to share it with other people.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Coach. Do you have any last word for our audience or anything?
Thanks for listening to me. I love having an audience.
Thank you so much, Coach. And yeah, I think that's all we have. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Hello, quay trở lại với vật lý chiêu. Các bạn có thể thấy anh Mai rất vui tính đúng không nào? Mình xin được tóm tắt lại lộ trình học tập của huấn luyện viên Mai cho các bạn nhé. Anh bắt đầu học giải tích vào năm lớp 7. Lý do là vì anh muốn cạnh tranh xem ai là người học giỏi toán nhất với một người bạn của mình. Anh dùng quyển sách Calculus for Dummies để học giải tích 1 và 2. Cuốn sách này rất là dễ đọc và thân thiện với những người dummy. Về phần giải tích 3, anh đọc cuốn Deep Grad Curve and All of That của tác giả Harry Shea. Cuốn này vừa giải toán và lý để giúp người đọc hình dung được các khái niệm trừu tượng của giải tích như là divergent, gradient và curl. Chuyển sang vật lý, ngày xưa anh có dùng một bộ sách cũ rẻ tiền nhưng không nói rõ tên bộ đó. Thế nhưng anh vẫn khuyên mọi người nên đọc cuốn Cơ sở vật lý, quyển sách mà giờ đây chắc mấy bạn đã không quá xa lạ. Về phần điện từ học, anh dùng quyển Principle of Electrodynamics của Melvin Swart. Còn về cơ học lượng tử, anh học một lớp online trên Coursera tên là Exploring Quantum Physics, được giảng dạy bởi hai giáo sư ở Đại học Maryland, Victor Galitsky và Charles Clark. Lớp này hoàn toàn miễn phí nên mọi người xem qua thử nhé. Bonus thêm, sau khi học lớp này, anh đã gửi email đến giáo sư Victor Galitzky để xin làm thực tập về cơ học lượng tử tại Đại học Maryland. Ngoài Coursera, anh cũng dùng MIT Courseware để học các lớp vật lý đại cương như là phần 1, phần 2 và phần 3. Ok, bây giờ nói phần cảm nghĩ của mình về huấn luyện viên Mike. Mình thấy anh là một người rất là vui tính và thân thiện luôn. Dù lớn tuổi hơn, nhưng cách nói chuyện của anh rất là gần gũi và không hề có khoảng cách nào cả. Ví dụ như anh đã tự học giải tích từ năm lớp 7, tự mình đọc các cuốn sách vật lý nâng cao và kiên trì theo học các khóa online ở trên Coursera. Đối với các lớp online này, bởi vì nó miễn phí nên chúng ta rất dễ lơ là và thiếu tập trung. Nhưng đối với Mike thì không, anh vừa học đầy đủ và còn vừa gửi email đến giáo sư Victor Galitzky để xin thực tập ở trường Maryland. Có thể thấy đây là một người cực kỳ chủ động và có trách nhiệm với con đường học vấn của mình.
Được. Hào hán.
Anh kiểu như không muốn giới hạn bản thân ở trong ghế nhà trường mà còn tự mình tìm các cơ hội học tập ở bên ngoài. Chưa hết, anh là một người sống rất kỷ luật và biết sắp xếp thời gian khi vừa học thi IFO và vừa làm dự án nghiên cứu cho cuộc thi Intel STS. Sau khi giành được 150.000 đô, anh đã dùng số tiền này để đóng tiền đại học, giúp bố mẹ mình một phần nào. Quả là một người con có hiếu nha. Cuối cùng, cũng như huấn luyện viên Kaishi, anh rất thích dạy học và không muốn giữ các kiến thức vật lý cho riêng mình. Anh quay về ngôi trường cấp 3 ngày xưa để tìm kiếm các bạn trẻ đam mê khoa học và trao cho họ cơ hội làm thực tập vật lý, như cách mà giáo sư Victor Galitzky đã làm với anh. Thêm vào đó, anh còn làm huấn luyện viên cho đội tuyển Olympic vật lý Mỹ từ năm 2017, hỗ trợ trong việc giải bài tập và đóng góp rất nhiều trong sự thành công của đội tuyển cho đến nay. Ta có thể thấy những điều mà anh làm đều liên quan tới hai chữ vật lý. Phải nói là một tình yêu và niềm đam mê vô bờ bến luôn các bạn nhỉ. Và đó cũng là những gì mình có trong video lần này. Cảm ơn mọi người đã theo dõi và ủng hộ kênh trong lần comeback lần này. Ở tập tiếp theo, chúng ta sẽ gặp một huyền thoại, vị huấn luyện viên trưởng, người mang trọng trách cao hơn cả huấn luyện viên Kai và Mike. Đó chính là anh Kevin Cho. Cho nên mọi người hãy nhớ đón xem nha, cực kỳ hấp dẫn luôn. Ok, xin chào tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nhé. Bye.